like everyone, I'm super hyped for the next chapter. And generally, whenever a new chapter comes out, it's always very exciting. But when you have a new chapter as, like, massive as the last one left off, having Selene, when she got serious, enlarged the moon, what I would imagine will probably be dozens and hundreds of times over for it to look that big from that distance. But this next chapter, I would assume this is kind of going to be like the end of the chapter when Alderaan said he was going to use Thicket of Arms. It's going to be like, leaving off on what's about to be a big attack, and the next chapter will focus on what exactly her move is. Because the chapter ending with like a close-up of her eye right after they took notice of her spell or ability or spiritual art or just dragon ability, whatever it's described as once we get to it, is like more of an indication, at least I would assume, that it's going to at least show what exactly it does and what she's doing in the next chapter. Like, once we saw her have that serious face, after Suzaku was able to get a cut on her, and then it panned away over to what the main cast was doing. If it stuck with that, I would have assumed that the next chapter would have fully focused on either the fight with Mimi and Lucy, or Gray versus Sukune in those rematches. But it ending after they acknowledged like what was going on at the moon and then Selene's eye, it just makes me believe that there's going to be at least somewhat focus on what she's about to do in the next chapter, because Mishima's always been one to like end off a chapter on something like that, end off the end off on a cliffhanger, a hype cliffhanger, only for it to be opened up in the next chapter. It'd be very strange if he ended it that way, and then we didn't have any back acknowledgement on what's going on in that fight, just because at that point it was when what we were going to have as the as essentially the content for where it's going, just in the whole area of, yeah, well, this is what we're leaving off on, so be excited for next chapter. So whatever Selene does, I think is just gonna be, for one, I mean, anything she does is gonna be hype. But the way I assume it's gonna go is it will be like, with the moon like that large, maybe some form of almost Death Star like attack of just like giant moonbeams, or like just a mass array of energy just kind of being like shot down in like a whole barrage of moon blasts all from there, like just a huge torrent of just destructive energy just waved across like the scape of Elantir. But like, regardless, it's going to be really hype at that point. I don't think it's going to be fully focused on that, though, in the next chapter. I think when we're going to have this set up for the rematches with Mimi and Hikune. But it's got to have at least somewhat focus on what's going on with Selene. Because it'd be, like I said, it'd be weird to end the way that it did and then just not pan back to it until after the fights are over. Selene, like, literally having the last panel, and before the fights even really got set up, acknowledging what she was doing from both the main cast people and the Moonlight Beauty Gods. So, how exactly Suzaku is going to react to this, I don't really see him having a whole lot of options in reality, just because, like, Selene is, I mean, like, she's just too powerful for him. And Suzaku is definitely strong. He's demonstrated he's actually obviously really powerful. Not just like, he's not just hyped, he's not just like a strong new enemy. He's actually really strong from both his displays against Urza and base Natsu, but also, as we saw in this last chapter, in chapter 81, how he was doing against Selene. And Selene was not serious at the point where he damaged her, but just damaging her in general is like a really impressive, accomplishment. Doing anything to her is a big accomplishment. Like, she's clearly a really good fighter, and on top of that, she has like a lot of control with her abilities. Like, when she used her Moonlight Flame, and then after Suzaku cut it, she just, instead of like having to do a whole new attack, she just pretty much manipulated the energy that was already, expended, and Suzaku cut up and just turned it into a different attack. Like, I compared it, it would be like if Natsu used a roar and then manipulated the roar into something else mid-attack. It's one of those things, like, it's not that, like, it's not crazy impressive when you think about it, outside of it, like, it being a really good technique and skill-based feat. Because I don't think there's a lot of characters at the top of my head that have something like that, where it's, like, altering a previously set and established attack, and then just completely, not like an alteration, like if Gray used a Ice Make, made like his rampart, and just made a big ice wall from back in the Wrath Stone Sasark, and then maybe turn that into like Ice Make Lance or something. You have a bunch of lances come out, Freeze Lancer or something comes all out of this rampart into more attacks. It'd be like if somebody broke it and they did that. Kind of like, we got some of that with Silver a little bit, but it is just a really cool way to do it in that whole method, because it wasn't just like an altered attack. It was like seemingly a fully different attack. The only similarity is that it's from the same energy that Selene had made. I would assume like a moon energy, some form of just lunar aspect power that she's got. But yeah, so outside of that, like, it's probably gonna be a chunk of just a follow-up. I think it'd be very strange not to have on like that like hype moment at the end, and then not have at least somewhat focused, even if it's a couple pages of that fight, and then set up what's going on with the main cast. Maybe even to get a little bit of information on what happened with the slashes that Urza and Naza, because I don't think they're just normal cuts. Because otherwise, Wendy should have no problem healing them, especially in Ellen's here with her advanced healing capabilities, which she should have right now. But like, it's also gonna be the thing is like Suzaku's attack, like when he used Underworld Drop, had like that weird energy, like kind of like not like stemming her, but it was almost like these like what I would assume like red like wisps and just like kind of like broken waving energy around him. If it has something to do with that, something that he kind of applied some form of status effect, it'd be kind of like when Zera's curse turned out to Scarf Black and Wendy wasn't able to heal him because it was interfering. Something like that is how I can see whatever happened to them going, because Wendy has to be out of the fight for a good minute if we're gonna have like the full one-on-one rematches between well, I guess with Akune it was Natsu and Gray, but you know what I mean, like the fights between the main cast 2 and then the 2 remaining Moonlit Beauty Gods, they have to have something that keeps Wendy out of it. Otherwise, like, why wouldn't she just jump in and help? Because, we know how she is, not only as like a fighter, but she's also a huge support wizard, so she's going to want to assist them in any way possible. The only way that she's not going to be doing that is if she has something more important that she has, preoccupy her time, like trying to figure out what happened with Natsu and Urza. So, I completely just assume the next chapter is going to be, I would assume similar to the Thicket of Arms chapter. It's going to have some hype around whatever Selene's attack is going to do, set up for the fights, and hopefully some information on that. Because, like, with everybody currently where they're at, there's nothing really to pan away to other than these events. Prior to this, it'd be like, well, we could see what's going on at Selene's base, what's going on with Toka and Ferris and whatnot. But we now have the main cast at the Whiteout Village, so like those point of views are set. And then Selene's with Suzaku. So there's really only the two areas we could focus on. The only other thing that we could potentially get panned over to besides these things are finding out where Skolnion, Nadmo, and Kiria are. Anyway, other than that though, comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this, and tell me your thoughts are about what's the next chapter. I feel like the next one should be pretty straightforward, like I said. Opening abilities on Selene, setting up the fights, and then hopefully like a chunk on like what Wendy's doing, and like Wendy acknowledging there's something more than just like the slashes between Natsu and Urza. So we'll see. That's like what, like another 11 days. It's already been 3 days. We're in a good chunk of the way there, and then we'll get back to more hype chapters. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.